This is TWiT.
Rob, what is up with Pine?
And now it's time for another segment of the Something Jonathan Should Buy show. So, apparently, nearly 7 years after the original PineTime launched, Pine 64 is getting ready to try again, which actually really surprises me because I know me and Jonathan both bought one of the original PineTimes a few years ago. I don't know, 3-4 years ago. And at that time, I thought that it had just came out then, but I know we haven't been around for 7 years, so maybe there was some other big story that led us both to get it at that time. I don't know, but I guess it's been 7 years. Either way, Jonathan made use of his, but mine collected dust. It was fine, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of chintzy or cheap in my opinion. But to be fair, it didn't cost very much either. So what was I to expect? I just didn't feel like wearing it in public. So, but now in a community update from FOSDEM 2026, the company revealed the PineTime Pro, an updated version of its FOSS-friendly smartwatch. The new model is set to include an AMOLED display, built-in GPS, blood oxygen sensing, and rotating digital crown with an extra button, which sounds a lot more premium and maybe somewhat comparable to some of the more popular smartwatches today. It's at least clearly an upgrade from the original that is going to be more capable while still appealing to the same open source crowd. Pine 64 always says the PineTime Pro will use a custom chip, though technical details are still limited. One of the key improvements is that individual components can be powered down independently, which should help battery life. Paired with the AMOLED screen, that could make the new watch more efficient than its predecessor. And I mean, I hope so. Efficiency is kind of a thing that usually comes with progress. So, but there are still plenty of unknowns. Pine 64 has not announced a price or release date yet, and it is still deciding how to handle fundraising. But whatever happens, the PineTime Pro is unlikely to match the original sub $30 price, though it could still be a very strong value. I mean, yeah, I think it was $20 or something, somewhere under $30 US dollars. And I don't know, it's so cheap. I'm like, let's try it out. I'll buy it. And I did nothing with it. But another open question is software. In InfiniTime, the open source firmware that helped keep the original PineTime relevant, may or may not run on the new model. So not sure what they're going to have on there for sure yet. So for now, Pine 64's message is simple. The PineTime is back, this time with more features, more ambitions, and plenty of questions still to be answered. If this turns out to be a decent watch, all we really will need is a decent Linux phone to go with it.
So I've seen some of these different devices come and go. I do a lot more embedded work these days, and so I've got some examples here of different watches. And I will say, one of the things that the original PineTime really had going for it was its size. It was tiny. It actually worked as a watch. So you've got like some very cool things. This is a Liligo watch, but it's huge. And this is one of the things that is sort of
it's kind of thick.
Yeah. I won't tell you what people have described this as being similar to because it's not very nice, but just think about it a little bit and I'm sure you'll come up with it. But it's, I mean, you can pack a lot of capability and a lot of battery into something that size if you're willing to go that big. But it's become bigger than the size of watch that most people would be willing to wear. And looking at these two pictures, I'm kind of afraid that the PineTime Pro is going to stray into that same problem. It's just, it looks like it's big, it's fatter, it's bigger, and I don't know. I think that's really the biggest advantage that the original had going for it is it was so small.
Yeah, what I do remember from the original is at least when it was off, it looked like a decent premium watch, like the Apple Watch or anything else. Though when it turned on, you just had like a square screen that was noticeably separate from like the outside. When it was off, it looked like the whole thing was a screen, just like an Apple Watch. But yeah, it just had that little odd screen that, it could have been worked with, but I don't know. I really didn't have time for it. It was just I donated my $30 to their
cause,
to their initiative, to their cause.
Yeah. One of the other things I've seen pointed out is that apparently Pine is having problems right now because of the price of RAM, trying to keep some of these devices manufactured. And there's questions about what that's going to mean for this one. And I will say probably not as much, because this is based on an NRF, which is an all-in-one. It's like an SoC, a little tiny SoC from Nordic. I'm very familiar with the NRF that they're using here. So the RAM prices have not hit that yet. Although I will tell you, I have heard rumblings that going forward in the future, the availability on even some of these little MCUs is going to be affected by the various shortages we're going through.
Yeah, you guys could tell me more, but I can't imagine whatever RAM is in the tiny little RAM is in that watch.
Well, it's not,
is the same as the same production lines necessarily.
Not so much as that. It's getting a production line to do that instead.
Well, right. What I was saying is I don't imagine it's the same production lines.
A lot of times those little SoCs, they just design the RAM as part of the chip. And a lot of those, they're not running the big cutting edge stuff. So they're not the price of a RAM has nothing to do with those little SoCs other than if they're contracting out, but usually they're not cutting edge.
Yeah. Because
they don't have the sheer count of transistors and they're not volume. So they're running probably in a fab with 8-inch wafers. And so it's not even holding up the huge manufacturing lines.
So this is a Nordic NRF 52, which that's like 2 generations old from the new NRF 54 that Nordic is really trying to push right now. So it's based on the ARM Cortex M4. It's 64K of RAM. So yes, we're not talking about very much RAM. And so I was sort of saying that tongue in cheek. However, I am hearing from my MCU guys that even little tiny things like this are starting to be difficult to get in volume.
Is that because the volume's decreased over time, especially for the older ones?
It's just because everything is growing so big and there's so much competition for fab time for everything.
Yeah, so it kind of pushes everything down, right? So for example, let's just come up with like TSMC. They're booked with the latest NVIDIA, Apple, some Intel stuff. Well, okay, then who's going to make that? Well, okay, Samsung picks up some, Intel picks up some. But some of the lower end chips they were making now gets pushed to more mom and pop shops, some of the 8-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch fabs. But the stuff they were making then gets pushed down. And it's just everybody's pushing wafers through as hard as they can.
Well,
yep.
I heard some, I was reading, I didn't hear. I was reading some of the comments in one of the articles. And a lot of the commenters were not very positive about this. Basically mentioning about how they've been burned on things like the Pine phone, on how they released their Pine phones and then dropped the ball and just kind of didn't do anything with them, didn't go anywhere with them, didn't make them keep improving or make them useful. And that was a good number of the comments on there I saw.
Pine has sort of gained the reputation of building something that's hardware and then acting like it's spaghetti and just kind of throwing it against the wall and see if it sticks, see if anybody will build good software for it.
Or firmware.
Personally, I'm just waiting for the good Linux phone.
Me too.
Whenever that comes up.
So I find it a little odd that they throw a watch out there, but
I'm a bit of a Luddite. I'm all about the old school analog dial.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I got so used to not wearing a watch because every time I'd get to work when I was in the Air Force, I'd have to take it off.
True.
I like to be able to see when my meetings are, and when I have maps going down the road, it'll vibrate and say, "Ooh, you got to turn." So I can have the thing muted.
Phone.
I can have the phone muted, so I don't have to hear the dumb, voice saying, "Turn right here
Which
or
voice
whatever.
did you select?
So apparently, talking about the pricing thing again, apparently this week, Intel, AMD, ST Micro, Allegro, and probably a couple of others have all come out and said we're going to have to raise prices. It was a lot of different people that were affected by, again, this crunch on the fab side have come out, and we can't do what we're doing. We can't leave prices where they're at, and so they're gonna increase prices pretty much everywhere. So you got that to look forward to for this year, the rest of this year.
Quickly, I wanted to touch on the firmware. You said InfiniTime may or may not be the default. Is it possible Pine's thinking about going with the PineTime Lite, which is a fork of InfiniTime?
I mean, it's hard to say. I was actually going to take a look quickly and see if I could see what. Yeah, it looks like they have an NRF52 port, so it wouldn't be difficult to make InfiniTime work on the new device. It's all NRF52, so it's just a matter of porting over the display driver and then remapping the GPIO and then adding drivers for whatever new hardware you've got on there, and then adding for whether they say they can turn on and off the individual pieces of hardware, so they either have that control with just GPIOs or they've got like a power controller switch on there, and either way it's pretty straightforward to get support for that going. So they could do it through Infinite. And with this, if the guys at Pine want to do it, is they may fork InfiniTime, build the support there, and then slowly push it back up. That's a pattern you see pretty often. So it's hard to say. This kind of makes me want to go pull my PineTime back out and flash the newer InfiniTime to it, because I know they've been working on it, and this thing has continued to get updates, and they've made it better, and they've added features. So I kind of want to go try it out again. If you enjoyed this clip, be sure to check out the Untitled Linux Show. You can find us in your favorite podcasting app or subscribe to our YouTube channel down in the links below. See you there.